And we want to look at a couple of instances in the Bible where people were really being blessed and had such tremendous opportunities, and they just went totally haywire. How many of you know that sometimes you can get a severe case of the stupid?
Hey friends, welcome back. Thank you so much for tuning in. Guys, this is basically an economic emergency broadcast, a very timely conversation with my good friend Bob Kudla, the founder of Trade Genius. Gold just hit an all-time high today in USD. Therefore, gold is now pretty much at an all-time high in currencies around the world. Bob, welcome back.
Hey, Sean. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming on. Guys, if you don't know, silver has also been outperforming gold on a percentage basis, but it's still 50% away from its all-time high. Bob, I tweeted this out on July 19th. Take a look at this. Let me do a screen share. USD $19 silver will be a distant memory in coming years. Woulda, coulda, shoulda. And I linked to my important interview with my buddy James Anderson over at SD Bullion, because we break it all down why silver is the most undervalued tangible asset on planet Earth, and that was $5 ago. Today, guys, silver hit $24.50. Boy, Bob, what a day, what a week, what a month since we last talked.
Yeah, and shoulda, woulda, coulda, we did.
That's right, we did. And we tried to get our viewers and our listeners in too, but guys, it's not too late. This is just the beginning, because what's causing this right now is a collapsing dollar. What is your take right now on the action in the dollar, Bob?
Yeah, it's really interesting. I think they got to be concerned that if they lose control of the dollar, two things are going to happen. One is great news for us. Silver and gold will keep moving higher, but the stock market will roll over hard because people will start exiting and going back to their base currencies where the foreign money is. So they got to be really careful. But then if they try to support the dollar, they're going to collapse the stock market. So I think they're going to probably opt to continuing to put pressure on the dollar because they're desperate for inflation, and that's just going to help gold, silver, and cryptos too. I mean, look at Bitcoin blasted over 10K. I sent you a chart. Yeah, it's just been an amazing ride. I think now you hop off the alts and you jump into Bitcoin and enjoy the ride.
Yeah, as we're having this conversation, Bitcoin breaking out at 10,700 and change. I cannot overstate how important it is, friends, that you guys get involved in tangible assets to protect your wealth. I've been saying it. It has been a core message of my channel since I started this thing in 2010, and my reaction to the Federal Reserve destroying our dollar over time. The dollar has lost some 98% of its purchasing power since the Federal Reserve was formed in 1913, and it's only going to get worse, guys. What we've seen happen in other nations, Zimbabwe, Venezuela, Weimar Germany, I swear, guys, it will happen here sooner or later. You've got to be smart, guys, because the bankers want to leave you as serfs. That is, I think, unfortunately, the plan. And in a second, Bob, I want to share a very amusing Forbes and CBS hit piece with you. But you sent me some charts. You mentioned that. Let's talk about it. By the way, on July 16th, I got a Trade Genius alert by AG. That's First Majestic Silver at $10.57 per share. Today, guys, that stock hit $14.26. Bob, you also sent me a chart for SLV and BTC. Do you want to talk about those?
Yeah, I just want to talk macro here, and then also want to talk to the miners in regards to that. So silver's up over 100% from the March bottom. That move was just the last macro chart that we sent, and look at that. It's up 38% in 2 weeks. And here's the interesting thing apart, but people don't realize is, but you do. The bankers have been shorting this. If we get silver over $25, there's this thing called gamma, which basically means it's like a magnet. It's going to draw price up closer to $27 and $30 a share. So 10% from here, because of all the shorts, they'll have to start covering their positions, and a lot of people are getting long and going with calls now. So it's kind of like forces the market higher. Same thing with Bitcoin, the same thing with gold, and the same thing with the miners. So we're looking at this chart here, 2260 SLV. If silver hits 27, this is $26 for SLV. So another 10 to 12% move on this.
Well, let's look at
Yeah.
Bitcoin, because you sent me this chart too. And for those that don't know, Bitcoin was stuck between 9,000 and 9,500 for quite a few weeks. And in the last 48 hours, it just absolutely broke out, I think trying to catch up with what gold and silver have been doing.
Yeah, and this is just our signal. I mean, you can trade our signal on multiple time frames. If you just trade Bitcoin on a daily because you don't want to go crazy trading it, you see a trade earlier in the month that you got a quick 4% move, you hopped off. It came back, it gave us another signal again around the 17th, and then here you're up 17% on the trade. So that's how Bitcoin's going. And then if you look at now going forward, now that gold has broke out, they may try to test it back down to the breakout that happens. But my target now in 2021 is 2,900. That's the measured move. And then if gold hits 2,900, silver's at $45, but it's gonna probably have a big fight between 27 and $30 before it makes its next move higher. But I don't care. So we're trading the miners mostly. Gold and silver to me are the tells that's creating the value for the miners. If gold goes up to 2,900, you're looking at another 25% move higher. Silver goes to 45. It's a double. You're looking at silver miners up 400 to 600%. You're looking at gold miners up another double. And so that's what I really care about. You could stack and trade, as I like to say. I don't touch the stack, but I'm always trading those miners to generate cash flow and building wealth. In 2011, we made 700% in basically in 13 months. And this move's going to probably be bigger and longer. But between March low and you're going out looking at by the end of 2021, you're probably looking at the same kind of move, 600-700% move. A lot of these miners have already doubled and tripled, and they have doubles and triples in them yet.
All right. Well, I'm going to leave the link to Trade Genius below because, like I said, just one example there. Buy AG at 10.57. Today, 10 days later, it's at 14.26. So maybe at the end of the show here, Bob, you can give people the elevator pitch for Trade Genius. We've talked about it before. My people know it's just a matter of signing up and getting the alerts or missing these opportunities, guys. Let me do another screen share. Take a look at this, Bob. It's absolutely unbelievable what these mercenaries will do. How about this one? Forbes, Larry Light. He wrote this yesterday, July 26th, Sunday. Stay the hell away from gold. He writes, the oft-quoted line from the Merchant of Venice is apt. All that glitters is not gold, but gold lately has been doing a lot of glittering. As the price per ounce soars to all-time highs, the question is whether this is a good thing to buy now. The answer? No, not at these prices, because the yellow metal is notoriously volatile. Unless you are a deft in and out of commodities trader, which not many people are, or a long-term investor, which you should be, then gold is a problematical holding, certainly in any large amount. Absolutely unbelievable lies. And take a look at this one from CBS quote-unquote news. Gold price hits all-time high, and it's a bit of a mystery why. The price of gold surged to an all-time high on Monday. Some experts pointed to the worsening of U.S.-China trade and political tensions. Others cited growing investor concerns that an economic recovery from the coronavirus pandemic might be weakening in the U.S. and elsewhere. But Bob, no word about all the printing from the Fed in either of these articles. No word about the $27 trillion in debt. No word about the plummeting dollar. Just mercenary lies.
Yeah, they're mad they couldn't get in. David Portnoy screwed them over trying to buy cheap stuff out of the March lows. And now us silver and gold traders are going to cheat them out of getting silver and gold on the cheap too. And it's not just silver and gold. Platinum's moving, palladium's moving, tungsten's moving, uranium's moving, oil's moving. They lost control of the cost inputs now, and they got themselves trapped. But you and I have been talking about this for years. Get out of the financial assets, get into the hard assets, and you're going to be a really happy person. And these guys are mad because they use the news, unlike what we do in terms of informing. They use the news to basically move people in and out of positions so that they can buy things cheaper or sell things higher. Right now they've been pushing all the Q stocks, and And, those 5 stocks are worth more than the GDP of half the countries on earth. Now, that is the reason why you should be buying them. But you buy silver as the cheapest commodity that's out there. They tell you to stay away from it because they're stacking. And you know what? JP Morgan's stacking. All the central banks are stacking, and they have been stacking. And they use the paper markets to go ahead and push this thing down. And when they lost control of the platinum and palladium markets a couple of years ago, we had quick doubles in those commodities. And silver can do the same thing. There's no telling how high silver can go if those guys cannot find the physical to meet those short positions they had. Now, JP Morgan, he's on the long side of silver now. So they're not going to get any help from him. He owns, I think, 54 to 57 million ounces of silver on the books of JP Morgan Chase. So he's no longer short. You may hate that guy, but you always watch what he does because he tends to be in front of a lot of these trades, and he's positioned for long silver. Anybody shorting against him, jumping up and down. When JP Morgan went long about 18 months ago, I said, people, you better start getting long silver because JP Morgan is.
Yeah, absolutely. We covered much of those details in my interview with James Anderson. People should still go back and watch that. The name of that interview is, if there's one silver interview or video you watch this year, it should be this one. We quantify it all, guys. And people need to understand, Bob, you do, the silver to gold ratio, which peaked around 125 to 1. 125 ounces of silver for every 1 ounce of gold just a couple of months ago has fallen now. Today it's at 80 to 1. If it returns to where it should be based on the mining of the stuff out of the ground, it should go to 10 to 1, and it might overshoot that. 10 to 1 today puts us at $200 an ounce silver. These aren't pie-in-the-sky numbers anymore, guys. And if the back of JP Morgan in the COMEX rigging is being broken, those numbers could easily come to fruition. I always like to say, Bob, look at Tesla, a $1,500 stock. Look at Amazon, a $3,000 stock. To your point, the QQQ, it's all madness. If that's where people think the value is, they're out of their minds. The value is in these tangible commodities. And again, silver at $24.50 an ounce, in my view, is still the world's most undervalued tangible asset.
Yeah, I mean, without a doubt, you and I are beating a dead horse here. And if gold simply gets priced back to the growth in money supply, gold should be at 4,500. If gold was priced to basically wipe out the federal debt, gold would be at $85,000. So, you have to put it in perspective. This is how suppressed these rare assets are. And we're starting to see it now. This was a big deal. They could not keep this thing from breaking out to all-time highs. And that means that, the forces are beyond them. And you got to realize, too, it used to be a U.S. and a U.K. kind of game here. But now you have the rest of the world that their currencies are getting crushed, and they need to absolutely defend them with hard assets. So they don't really care what the London bullion banks say. I want my gold, and I want it now. You're talking about India, you're talking about China, you're talking about Japan, you're talking about Korea. They're all buying gold into their central banks, and they're draining these vaults. So be comfortable with the volatility. Give yourself wide stops and buy the dips, and you're going to be very, very happy.
Absolutely. And those hit pieces from Forbes and CBS, quote-unquote, news, those are designed to try to quell demand. They do not want demand for these precious metals rising. That's exactly what's going to happen as people wake up, and our listeners woke up a long time ago. All right, let's turn our attention to a different subject here. I'll do another screen share. Now, breaking news today, Congressman Matt Gaetz has filed a criminal referral against Facebook CEO Mark Zuckerberg, and I wrote, Jack, at Twitter, Jack Dorsey, you're next, because NBC, quote-unquote, news actually has done a piece about Twitter. Remember the Twitter hack that happened just the other day?
I sure do.
It was revealed in that hack that Twitter does actively shadow ban and ghost conservatives on their platform. And Jack Dorsey swore to Congress that they don't do that. So Jack Dorsey has lied to Congress, and now take a look at this today. Today, U.S. Congressman Matt Gaetz filed a criminal referral against Facebook CEO Mark Zuckerberg for making materially false statements to Congress while under oath during two joint hearings in Congress on April 10th, 2018 and April 11th, 2018, during a hearing of the House Energy and Commerce Committee and also a joint hearing of the Senate Judiciary Committee and the Senate Commerce, Science, and Transportation Committee. Mr. Zuckerberg repeatedly and categorically denied his company engaged in bias against conservative speech, persons, policies, or politics, and also denied that Facebook censored and suppressed content supportive of President Donald Trump and other conservatives. Again, I restate, Jack Dorsey at Twitter, you're next. This is great news, Bob, because we're all fed up with it. We're fed up with them not allowing us to have a level playing field in social media, and the reason they don't is because we were winning the battle for truth and real news in the town square. That's why they censor us and shadow ban us, and they're not going to get away with it, Bob.
Yeah, and it's way beyond that. I was thinking about that this weekend, is that, politics is the art of persuasion, but the Democrats never persuade. They try to stack the court. They try to stack the bureaucracies. They try to use corporations. They try to use the mob. They try to stuff the ballot box. It's beyond me that more people don't see that, and they never really do anything for the people they're supposed to support. If I was African American, I would say, hey, you failed me, and now they're going to do to the rest of the country what they did to them if they get into power. These people are simply out for themselves, and hopefully now that we could start, they can't hide anymore. The one good thing about the internet is they can't hide and pretend yesterday didn't exist. And the Twitter thing was even more about than shadow banning and suppressing. They actually have the ability, if they choose to, they can actually type things in, and we learned from that hack. So they have people that actually have access to our accounts. They could type in whatever they wanted to type in. So that's kind of scary from, if they did that to President Trump or they did it to some other world leader, and could cause some severe, national, consequences for, people's security. So, I think the Twitter thing is just mind-boggling to me that more people aren't up in arms about this. I hope they are behind the scenes.
All right. Well, look, we know the big social media companies and the demonic Democrats and the mainstream media are truly the enemies of the people. I want you to listen to this. This is absolute proof of what demons these people are, the Democrats specifically. You may have seen this, Bob, but I don't know if everybody in the audience has. Listen to this. Democrat Jerry Nadler.
It is true. There's violence across the whole country. Do you disavow the violence from Antifa? That's happening in Portland right now? There's riots.
That's a myth that's being spread only in Washington, D.C.
About Antifa in Portland?
Yes.
Sir, there's videos everywhere online. There's fires and riots. They're throwing fireworks at federal officers. DHS is there. Look online. It gets crazy, Mr. Nadler.
Look at that little troll. Oh, my goodness, Bob. It's a myth. Violence by Antifa in Portland for the past, what? We're going on how many weeks of this has this been going on?
Almost
it's a myth.
And the other thing, too, the other ones are saying, hey, maybe this needs to stop and it's Trump's fault. So they're talking out of both sides of their mouth now. I think they got polling data that says we're in big trouble now because of these riots. And look at the Lightfoot had to invite Trump in here to start cleaning up her city from the massive amount of gunfire there. Look, I mean, people got to be scared out of their minds. They could send a mob into any town, city, or politician to force compliance. I mean, if that doesn't scare you, and you want to vote for that, then there's no reasoning with you.
Yeah, it's complete madness, and I've just been saying, and I will continue to say, that the Democrats, look, in my view, Bob, this is really spiritual warfare, and I feel like many of these Democrats, and many of these Antifa people specifically, are gripped by the spirit of the Antichrist. Because, look, I made a video yesterday that I released showing a young white man walking down the street preaching about Jesus Christ, and 3 Antifa people come up to him. Of course, they're all dressed in black and masked, and they threaten him because they hate what's coming out of his mouth. So these people literally hate Christians as they burn down the cities, and these Democrat mayors stand down, and Jerry Nadler says it's not happening at all. I mean, you want to talk about losing control of the narrative. I mean, these people are going down. Now, here's the problem. President Trump tweeted just the other day, if they're allowed to do mail-in ballots for voting in November, they're going to steal the election.
Yeah, no, of course, and we see it already. I mean, look how many people have already been arrested for stacking the ballots. And, I live in California. We haven't seen anything yet. But people are getting mail-in ballots, but they're not coming to the R as far as I know. But, I have faith, and I think enough people are probably, if they're not scared witless, they're probably like, whoa, we need to put an end to this. So I'm hopeful that Trump will prevail here in the fall. But I got one for you, too, that you probably didn't even notice. And if I was smart enough, I would have sent it over to you. There's these COVID-19 vans out there for testing. And the symbol that's in it is called the COVID-19 vans. They have it's from a company called Aardvark. You can probably look it up. And it doesn't look like an aardvark in there. It looks like Anubis, the Egyptian, evil Egyptian god.
Yeah.
So, I mean, they're not even hiding it anymore, Sean.
Yeah, I think, is that the god of death? I think I saw a meme.
Yeah,
I saw that the other day. Yeah, it's hard to keep up. I did an extensive news update last night, Sunday, and I just covered the tip of the iceberg. I mean, it's all happening so quickly. And one of the things I covered in that video, Bob, is that 53% of those surveyed in a poll want there to be financial penalties, fines, and or jail time for those that don't wear masks when it's mandated, which leads me to believe that probably half of this country will willingly line up for the vaccine if and when it's rolled out. And that to me is just horrifying, because these people have no idea what that vaccine may do to their bodies.
Yeah, I mean, all you have to do is send people out there. None of these vaccine makers are liable even if they kill you. And this is being rushed. Even if you're pro-vaccine, this should give you a pause. And the other thing, too, is, let's say you have no problem with vaccines. Let's say you have no problem with the vaccination process. Vaccinations for influenza are essentially, they're worthless. Even in the best of years, you have like a 74% chance it's not going to help you anyway. The thing drifts, it mutates, it migrates. You have better immunization if you had the flu really bad some point in your past in your life from a future COVID. They have a lot of people that already are immune to it just simply because they had SARS or they had the Hong Kong flu in the past. Your body recognizes this virus and it can react very quickly. And plus there's other therapeutics out there that essentially make this thing a meaningless process. But for whatever reason, they have this heartburn on for vaccinations that makes you think, really what's the agenda here?
Well, that's right. And just one more screen share before we wrap this up. These disgusting vaccine executives have raked in $1 billion in stock sales as positive headlines boost shares. And I tell you, if you ever tune in to the Mockingbird mainstream media nightly news, Bob, some 65 to 75% of their ads are vaccine ads, are big pharma ads. So big pharma is literally paying to sell the American people false narratives. And I, for one, have had enough of it. I sure hope that Matt Gaetz and Josh Hawley in Missouri rein in these criminal social media giants, re-level the playing field, and in the case of Mark Zuckerberg, and in the case of Jack Dorsey, and in the case of the people over at YouTube and Google, I sure hope that there are more criminal actions taken against these people, because they truly are criminals, and they truly do stand against we the people, the Constitution of the United States, and the Bill of Rights. Bob, thank you so much for your time. Just one last quick word about Trade Genius. That buy alert on AG, 1057 was the buy alert. The stop out was around $10. So guys, if you set your stops, your downside was like 50 cents, but your upside was $4. Do you want to tell people how they can get Trade Genius, Bob?
Yeah, so if you go to tradelikeagenius.com, and we set 6 bundles up. One is for trading stocks, one's for trading cryptos, one if you want to trade both rooms. And then you can also opt into what we call our VIP room, where we trade options and futures. And then we have a couple other rooms that for help you coaching for new people or people that want a little extra help or just learning the system. We pre-discounted all of those, Sean, 65% off. And you have to take advantage of it by the end of the month, though. So go to tradelikeagenius.com. We provide you with trade signals, but we also teach you how to trade. We teach you how to trade our system, which is the profit ribbon system. We think it's the premier system out there to find buying opportunities and then hopping off when the selling is about to begin. Look, we don't promise you Lambos, but we help you grind your way to profits nearly every day in the market. And we absolutely want you to succeed. So go to tradelikeagenius.com by the end of the month. And thank you for letting me pitch that, Sean.
Well, you're welcome. I do appreciate your time. I'll leave the link below. Guys, our guest has been the founder of Trade Genius, Bob Kudla. Thank you, Bob.
Thank you, Sean.
All right, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. A truly sincere thank you, a special thank you and a shout out to our patrons who are keeping us in the fight for truth and real news, because as you guys know, YouTube completely demonetized this channel after 10 years of being a YouTube partner out of the blue just a month and a half or two ago. So thank you to my patrons. And for real news, guys, real news 24/7. By the way, SGT Report, when you type it into Google, they will not give you sgtreport.com in the returns. They've ghosted us. They've done the same thing to Breitbart. These people are criminals. So if you want real news and the antidote to corporate propaganda, visit us directly. Type it in, sgtreport.com. Real news 24/7. Thanks so much, guys. God bless. Bye-bye.
The slogan, "We're all in this together," is a collectivist mantra. The message being promoted is not one of individual liberty and personal freedom. It's one of subservience to dictatorial decrees. What's good about perceived security if you don't have your freedom?